Hey guys, Jack here. Today I'm going to be taking you through every single step of how I created this video. Absolutely no fluff, every single detail, how I work my way through the process of creating that exact video. Let's go. Now the approach that I'm going to take you can apply to so many different kinds of niches. The idea of doing some kind of AI time lapse, some kind of satisfying transformation or renovation can be applied to lots and lots of different topics. So I'm going to walk you through every single step that I take to create videos like this so that you can apply it to do the same. If you're interested in this kind of content or you want to find out more about how you can build digital assets using automation and AI, head over to my school community at school.com/AI lab, where right now we have a free 30-day course to get you up and running, plus tons more content so that you can build up your social media empire. First and foremost, I want to talk you through the rough approach that I'm going to take to building this content. Firstly, picking our niche or picking the video concept that we want to go for. That's going to be a combination of what's already working and what niches do your digital assets sit in. Then we're going to be using AI to craft the end result. So what does the end of this AI time lapse look like? We're then going to use that, work backwards to our starting point. So we're left with the before and the after. And then the real value is then crafting the storyline. So middle images, stages along the way of the transformation. Once we've built up that script or the journey that we want our time lapse to go on, we then head over to a AI video generating tool to link us from the start image through each of our phases to the end image. We then head over to a video editing software where we're going to stitch these video clips together, add some sound, add some music so that it really appeals to people on social media. And then finally, I'm going to talk about how you can scale this up and do this process much, much quicker. So let's dive into stage one. When it comes to picking your concept, the world is really very much your oyster, but the stuff that seems to be doing really well on social media is that high contrast, satisfying change. So from dirty to clean, from shabby to luxury, and there are lots of other trends going around right now like resin floorings and driveways. It's very much up to you, but people seem to like satisfying changes and they seem to like high pace, which is why the time-lapse, hyperlapse kind of videos work really, really well. This kind of satisfaction and time-lapse style video isn't really new. It's just that AI is allowing us to unlock lots of cool different concepts. People have been watching power washing videos or cleaning videos or before and after renovation videos for years and years. But by leveraging the digital tools that we have in front of us, we can create all sorts of things and we can create them at scale. There's lots of different ways to find out what kind of content is going viral. And I'm sure you've come across quite a few of these pages on social media. The example that I'm using in this video is a page called Vucraft, but there are loads out there, so if you have a preference, definitely head over to those ones. So the thing I find really interesting with these videos is that they are very clearly AI. This page is leaning into the fact that they're AI, and people just don't care. They just love watching these satisfying videos. So Vucraft seem to be leaning into the kind of building space, lots of transformations of interior design, and it's very, very creative, but it's not so far out of the realms of possible that it doesn't feel like the kind of thing that could exist, which I think is why they're doing particularly well. So once you've found a couple of videos that you like, you've got a couple of options. Either you can just build up your own script and storyline in your head, maybe you let your imagination run wild about the end product that you want to end up with. Ultimately, what we're going to be using is an LLM to help us craft the prompts that we're going to use to create images. Now, the images are the foundations of our videos, so it's really important that we get these right. We're really lucky because Google have released Nano Pro, which is incredibly performant. So to come up with your end goal, you can either use videos that already exist as inspiration, or you can think up your own fantasy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to download one of these videos that I like, and I'm going to pass it into the LLM to analyze for me. The way that I do that is I click on the reel that I like. So let's take this one as an example. It's got 19 million views. I grab the URL and then I head over to an online tool that downloads Facebook videos for you. So if you just head over to Google and type in Facebook video downloader, this top one here works for me. Paste in your link, click download, download it in HD, and we can see that it's downloaded over there for me. So I'm going to be using Gemini 3 as my tool of choice to help me craft the prompts. You can access this for free using the Google AI Studio, and I'll quickly show you how to do that. So if you just head over to Google and type in Google AI Studio, and just click on this Google AI Studio option, accept the terms and conditions. Now if you head over to the playground, you can actually use Gemini 3 Pro for free. It's here, Gemini 3 Pro Preview. So you can chat away with that. But if you want more capability, higher rate limits, and for your chat to be saved, I recommend that you sign up for a Gemini API key. Google is very generous and they offer you $300 in free credits just for signing up. To do that, all you need to do is follow these steps. If you go over to Dashboard in the left-hand menu, and then click on Usage and Billing, what you can do is head over to Billing, click Set Up Billing, and it'll take you over to these steps. And you see here $300 in free credits to spend on the Gemini API. So if you go through these steps, Gemini will give you $300 in free credits. Then if you head back to the AI Studio into Playground, you should be able to select an API key here that's linked to your billing account, which has those $300 of credits on. Alright, so once you've gone through the process of getting yourself signed up with those credits, or you're just using the free version, that's absolutely fine. What I want you to do is upload that video that we just downloaded using this insert button down here. So we insert, upload a file. Now what we want to do is we want to break down exactly what's going on in this video, and we're going to ask Gemini to help us do that. Okay, so the prompt I've gone for is please give me a detailed breakdown of what is going on in this video, scene by scene. And we'll see what it comes back with. Okay, so we see here Gemini has come back with a very detailed breakdown of what's going on in that video. If you have a quick read, you'll see that it is very, very impressive. Probably a better description than what I would have been able to come up with if I'd been tasked with that challenge. Now don't forget that we can leverage tools like Gemini for every step of this process. Let's hop back over to our overall strategy and see what's next. Alright, so we've identified our concept. We're going to go for some kind of resin flooring transformation. Next, we want to start at the end. We want to be in control about what our video ends up looking like. So given that, we want to start with creating that end scene, and then all the other creation we do is going to be based off of that. So the way that I'm going to approach this is I'm going to ask Gemini to come up with an image prompt for what the end of our video could look like. So let's head back over to the AI Studio. Now in general, I find that the more context that you give these tools, the better they are at helping you do what you want to achieve. So I'm going to give it all the context. Alright, so this is the prompt that I've gone for. This video has gone viral. I want to create my own version of this, some kind of floral resin flooring transformation. To start with, I want to create the final end scene image, the completed resin renovation. Can you please create me a detailed image prompt for the completed room? Note that we want our video to be sufficiently different, so use your own creativity when coming up with a prompt. So we'll fire that off. As with any interactions with an LLM, it is a bit of trial and error. If you don't like what it comes up with the first time, then we can go back and iterate the prompts until we end up with something that we do like. Cool, so Gemini has actually come back with a few options for us. Option 1, the Enchanted Meadow, biophilic and fresh. Instead of heavy red petals, this uses clear resin with pressed wildflowers, ferns and greenery. Okay. Option 2, the Midnight Luxe. This flips the color palette entirely. Instead of white floors, we go for a dark dramatic resin base with metallic accents. Okay. And option number 3, Coastal Dream, a beach house transformation. This moves away from standard flowers, use coastal, botanical or elements. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab that first prompt. Then we head over to New Chat, and in the right hand side, toggle the model selection, select images, and then Nano Banana Pro. Now this will only be available if you have linked an API key. If you haven't, don't worry, just use Gemini 2.5 Flash. It is still very capable, but Nano Banana Pro is the flagship model, so you will see the best results with this. Okay, so all I'm going to do is paste in that prompt and then look over to the bar on the right hand side, make sure the aspect ratio selected is 9:16, which is good for Reels. And I'm going to turn the resolution up to 2K. The reason I've selected 2K is because later down the line, I think some of our video generation models have a cap on the size of the images we can upload as references. So have a play with this. I think 2K is a safe bet, balancing quality and size. Alright, I'm just going to click run. Okay, so this is what Gemini has created. I think that looks great and is definitely the right kind of thing. The only thing that worries me a little bit, just on first reflection, is that that sun through those windows is casting a lot of complicated shadows, which might be difficult in our video generation stage. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back and edit the prompt slightly so that we have an easier image to work with. Okay, so all I've done is I've headed back over to our previous chat and I've typed in, I used this prompt, but the sunlight is casting some complex shadows. Can we make the lighting more steady so we have less shadows to work with? Great, so Gemini's come back with an updated prompt, so I'm just going to grab that and generate the image again. Alright, so Gemini has come back with this image. The sun has gone, it's a more overcast day, which makes our shadows less complicated to deal with. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to download that photo and give it a sensible name like final image. Great, so we've got our final image. What's the next step? So the next step is to create the starting point for our video. Now that we've got the ending point, we can use that as a reference to create that starting point. Nano Banana Pro is really good at taking a reference image and changing certain things whilst keeping others consistent, like in the example that we're doing here. So what we're going to do is we're going to head back over to Gemini, ask it to come up with a new prompt for our starting image, given that we'll be using our end image as a reference. Okay, so the prompt I've gone for is, I now need to create the starting image like the one in the video. I will use the end image we just generated as a reference. Please craft an image prompt that creates the starting point for our video. It should keep the structure of the building the same, e.g. the shape of the room, the background, the windows. The room should be bare, no furniture, and ready for a resin floor transformation. It should include the workers with the tools needed to start the job as the first scene, like the video we analysed. Now the reason that I've asked Gemini to include the workers in the first scene is because Nano Banana Pro is much more capable at creating the imagery that we want versus the video creation models that we're going to be using in a minute. So the more that we can control how the scenes look in our images and our image prompts, the better our output video is going to look. Okay, so I'm going to grab that prompt, head back over to Nano Banana Pro and upload it with the reference image. Alright, so we've got the reference image uploaded here with the prompt, and the settings on the right hand side we've kept the same. Now Gemini's come back with this image. Now it impresses me every single time it does this, but it's kept the structure of the building almost exactly the same and the background the same, which is going to be really helpful for creating our video. But now we've got the four guys in there tipping those ferns and flowers in there, which are going to be needed for the final finish. So just compare those side to side. So here's the start image and here is the end image that we're going for. Like I say, that conservatory, that background is exactly the same, which is really cool. All right, let's head back over and see what the next step is. All right, next step is what I like to call the messy middle. Now for me, this is the bit that's going to make or break your video. It's going to be the difference between AI slop and really cool transformation video, which will be the difference between whether or not your video goes viral or it falls flat. So the more steps that you take here, the better. But this is the balance of time, effort, and cost. Effectively, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating snapshots of partway through the build. So in the video breakdown that we saw, there were a number of different processes that took place to get from the start image to the end image. The more that we can segregate that into sections, the less that we have to ask the AI video creation models to do. If we ask the AI video creation model to do 2 or 3 processes to get from one image to the next, quite often it ends up kind of going everywhere and it's chaotic and it looks ridiculous. Now that's fine if you speed it up and chuck some cool music over it, but for it to look really professional, the more we can break it down, the better. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go and ask Gemini for its thoughts about how we can break this down and where it makes sense maybe to create images along the way. Alright, so the prompt that I've gone for here is great. So I have my start image and end image. I think it would be sensible to create some images along the way to help us control the stages of the resin floor transformation. Based on our analysis of the video from above, what checkpoints do you think we should create images for that will help us control the different processes that need to take place to get us from the start scene to the end scene? For example, one set of checkpoints would be the before and after of the resin being buffed. So let's see what it comes up with. Okay, so Gemini has come back and this is kind of the summary of what it's suggesting. Firstly, the workers pouring the pile, which is the start image that we've already got. Checkpoint 1, workers arranging the flowers. Checkpoint 2, workers squeegeeing the resin. Checkpoint 3, workers buffing the floor. Checkpoint 4, empty room. And then the end image is the furnished room. Now my only issue with this as a suggestion is that we haven't got anything referring to the pouring of the resin. So I might just go back and prompt it to include that in some way for our checkpoints. Alright, so the prompt I've gone for is, that looks great. My only concern is we haven't got anything to do with where the resin comes from. I would quite like a step between the workers arranging the flowers and plants and the resin being poured and then them using squeegees to spread it out. Can we please add a step for this? All right, great. So Gemini's come back, and now the updated summary is we've got the start point. First checkpoint is the workers arranging the flowers. Second checkpoint is the new one, which is the pouring of the resin. Checkpoint 3 is the squeegeeing. Checkpoint 4 is the buffing. Checkpoint 5 is the finished floor before the furniture, and then the final images with the furniture. So now that we've got all those checkpoints, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create all the images for the checkpoints. Now the way that I'm going to do that is in a very similar way to how we created the first image from the last. I'm going to take the stage before as the reference image, so in this case the starting image, and then I'm going to put in the prompt for the following checkpoint and create the image from that. So I'll show you for the first one, and then I'll do the other ones in the background and show you the results. Alright, so what I've got here is the prompt for checkpoint 1 image and the starting image, so this image here, as the reference image. So we'll see what it creates. Alright, so this is what Gemini came back with. And so what I've realized is that this is just not going to be enough progress for when we turn it into a video. It's really important that those first few seconds grab the attention of the user. And so we need a lot of activity to be happening for them to be excited about what they're seeing. All we've done is move from the guys pouring the ferns and the flowers onto the floor to them kneeling and sifting through them. We need more progress. So I'm going to update the prompt. I'm also going to add the final image as a reference so that we know the pattern that we're aiming for. Alright, so this is what I've gone for. Okay, so this image prompt for checkpoint 1 was not enough. I pasted the image prompt. And then what I've said is I'll paste the current start and end images as a reference now. I need the checkpoint 1 image to have the plants and flowers arranged into the final design. Please update our prompt for checkpoint 1. Okay, so we've got the updated image prompt. I'm going to take that, grab the start image and the end image as references to create that new checkpoint 1 image. Okay, so this is what Gemini came back with. That looks a lot better. My only issue here is that we have got plant pots in the picture, so I'm going to get Gemini to remove those. Alright, fantastic. It is worth just clarifying that in the Google AI Studio, Nano Banana Pro does have context, so you can just say please remove the plant pots and it will pick up the context of your previous image or images, and this is the output that we've got, which is much better. So I'm going to download that image and call it checkpoint 1, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work my way through checkpoints 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then we'll be ready to start creating the videos. Alright, so I've gone away and worked my way through the prompting and creating all of the images. Don't worry, I will put all of the prompts that I have used to create the images in a Google Doc and share that with you so you can have a look and have a play yourselves. But let's take a look at what we've got before we go into the video creation stage. Okay, so here are the first 4 checkpoints of our video creation. Over on the left hand side we've got that initial starting image that we came up with. Then we've got the guys laying out the flowers and the plants. Then we've got them pouring the resin. Then we've got them squeegeeing the resin out. And then the next 4, we have just 2 guys buffing up the resin. Then we've got the resin sort of post buffing, so it's nice and shiny, ready for the furniture to be moved in. There are a couple of differences here between this one and the next one, but that's all right. That will come through in the video. And then we've got the guys lifting in the furniture, and then we've got the final image, which is the one that we actually created first. So this one here with the guys creating bringing in the furniture, that's the only addition that I made. So as I was working through, I had this post buffing image here, and then it was straight to the final finish with the furniture. Now I knew that if we didn't have an image with the team lifting in the furniture, we'd probably have some kind of crazy video coming on. Maybe the team would look different, and it would have been fine. But I wanted to add a little bit of control between these 2 scenes, so I decided to add an additional checkpoint. Cool. So what we've been doing is we've been adding that control, the sort of messy middle as I like to refer to it as, so that we know exactly how our video, our time lapse is going to weave through the scenes, getting from that start to the end. Now the more effort you put in here, the better your output will be. Hopefully that will come through in the final video that we produce. You can just do it in a oneer, so if you want to produce this nice and quickly, you can just start with that start image and end image, generate the video and hope for the best. What you'll probably find is that the output is a little bit weird. This does very much depend on the models that you use. If you are prepared to spend a little bit more money and use models like Sora and Google Theo 3.1, which at the time of recording this video are the sort of flagship models in this space. If you're prepared to pay for those, then the output that you get probably will be a bit better off the bat, and you probably will get away with just doing a start image and an end image and maybe just one middle image. However, if you are using slightly cheaper models, then the more that you can control the funkiness, the better your output will be, and the more footage that we have, the more flexibility we have to speed up that footage and make the weirdness sort of disappear in the blurs. So it is completely up to you how much effort you put in here. You can do more than what I've done to create longer videos, you can do less than what I've done to create shorter videos, and the more control that you have, the better the output will be. So what's the next step? Well, this is like the generative bridge. So we've kind of written our script, we've got our snapshots that we want to have within the video. We now need to go and actually generate the video footage, taking us from one section to the next. So that's what we're going to do. The way that I'm going to approach this is to come up with a specific prompt for each scene. So to get me from the starting image to checkpoint 1, I'm going to come up with a bespoke prompt, and then similarly from checkpoint 1 to checkpoint 2. So what I'll do is I'll walk you through how I'm going to come up with that prompt for the first scene. I'll go away and do it for the remaining scenes, and I'll show you, I'll put the prompts that I've used in that doc so that you can access it. So let's dive in and create that first prompt. Alright, so the prompt that I have gone for is great, so I'm happy with all of my images. I'm now ready to create the time-lapse video. Can you please generate me a prompt that I could use for an AI video generation model like VO3 to take me from the starting scene to checkpoint 1? Please recall the steps that we saw in the initial video that we analysed. Please be specific. Start and end picture for this clip are attached. So we'll see what it comes up with. Okay, so we've had the prompt back from Gemini. It looks good. It is worth just reading through and making sure it is what you expect. But basically it's describing the process to get us from the start image to the end image. A couple of keywords that we're using there: fast motion, time-lapse shot is key. And then static camera is also key. We don't want the camera moving around, we want it to be a fixed shot. So we're going to grab that prompt and head over to our video generation platform. Alright, so the video editing platform that I like to use is called Higgsfield AI. It is totally up to you which platform you use. When you're creating videos like this, there are some where you can get free credits, where you get free trials, but ultimately you will end up needing to pay for these models. They aren't cheap. I like platforms like Higgsfield because they give you access to all of the models. So you've got all of the major players in the video generation space, and they're constantly releasing and updating them as they go. I personally think a good balance of cost and quality are the Kling models, so specifically Kling 01 and Kling 2.5 Turbo. I'll probably jump between the two. But the important thing is that you select a model that allows you to put in a start frame and an end frame, because that's how we're going to be able to get that control as to which direction the video heads, and then also making sure that the end of clip 1 matches up with the beginning of clip 2. Now it's completely up to you exactly what settings you apply. I think the higher quality you go for, the more professional your video will look, so it is worth going for HD quality, 1080p. Make sure that you select the right resolution, so 9:16 in our case if it's an option, otherwise it will auto detect from the input images. And then the other option that you often will have is the length of the video that you want to go for. Now this is kind of a judgment call. 5 seconds is normally plenty, especially when we've broken down our checkpoints so granularly. But if you want to give yourself a little bit more wiggle room, you can go for that 10-second one so that you can speed it up even more and iron out any of those sort of AI glitches. So for example, I've just chucked in that first one to get us from the opening scene to checkpoint 1. I'll just show you the result. Now that is pretty good, and when it's sped up that will look absolutely fine. What I might do is I might just try the 10-second one to see if it's any better and see if I can get the guys to actually work their way around the pile. But to be honest, you don't need perfection here. People are watching your video because it's fast paced and exciting and there's going to be some fun music on it. So don't worry about imperfections, you're not going to get it perfect. So the process that we take is we just grab that prompt that we got from Gemini, chuck it in here, upload the start image and the end image, make sure you get them the right way round. Select your model, so I'm going to go for Kling 2.5 Turbo, 10-second duration, 1080p resolution. That's costing me 12 credits on Higgsfield, which is actually a very cost-effective way to do it because you get tons of credits and you can use them across lots of models. Higgsfield also often has promos in terms of offering free models that you can try, so it is worth having a look. Possibly have a look at some of the other platforms as well. There's often free incentives to get you to try out new models, so if you're trying to keep that cost low, definitely have a look around. So these can take a little while to generate as well. So whilst you're waiting for clip number 1 to generate, you can head back over and generate the prompt to get you from checkpoint 1 to checkpoint 2. So I'm going to go and work my way through them, and then I'll show you the outputs when I'm done. Alright, sweet. So I've worked my way through that exercise, and I'm just going to show you the results of each one. So here is the first one, which I extended out to 10 seconds. So what we'll do is we'll just speed that one up a little bit more in our editing software, but I do think the result is a little bit better because there is more to do to get from that first checkpoint to that second checkpoint. So this is clip number 2, where they are pouring the resin. I think that one looks pretty good. Clip number 3, they're just completing the pour of the resin and then they start squeegeeing it out. That looks pretty good. Then the next clip, we've got the squeegeers just disappearing off and the buffers starting to come into scene. Next clip is just them finishing the buffing. That one's nice and clean, nothing weird going on there. And then the next one is start to bring in the furniture. That first furniture guy is obviously very strong, but yeah, that all looks very, very good. And then the final one that we had planned was just the completion of adding in that furniture. So that's good, that gets us to our last scene. So for all of those I've been using Kling 2.5 Turbo, and they're all 5 seconds, 1080p quality, and they seem to have come out quite well. The only one that's 10 seconds is that first clip. And then I noticed that Higgsfield were giving away Kling 2.6 for free, so I tried this one. It does come with audio, which I will not be including in the final video. I just thought I'd give it a go, see what happens, and I just added a prompt here to show some kind of panning, which seems to be what a lot of the viral videos, including that one we looked at the start, have. So I'll just show you that. Ignore the sound.
Bathed in natural. Here is the spacious sunroom bathed in natural light. Notice how the reflections shift delicately with every movement. Here is...
Yeah, so yeah, the sound is no good, but I do like that sort of quick pan, which will add a little bit of nice sort of non-time-lapse footage at the end of our video. Right, let's review where we're at. Okay, great. So we have been generating the videos. I'm pretty happy with how they've turned out. Let's have a look at next step, which is to assemble and speed these clips up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag these into my video editing software. I use CapCut, but obviously this is quite simple editing. It's just stitching together some video clips and changing the speeds. We will be chucking on a little bit of sound and music in the next step. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to CapCut and show you what that looks like. Okay, so here we are in CapCut and I've imported each of my clips. So I'm just going to drag them down in order. So there we go, there's each of our clips. You can see the first one is 10 seconds and the rest are all 5 seconds. I'm just going to head over to clip 8 and reduce that sound down to 0 so that we don't hear anything. So let's just play them through all together and see how it looks. Alright, sweet. So that looks pretty good. We're very much on our way to creating the final thing. We now just need to speed it all up. So I know that this first clip we are definitely going to want to have sped up to at least 2. Let's see how that goes, how that looks. Probably more than 2. Let's go there, see how that looks. Yeah, so that looks pretty good. Okay, and then we're just going to go through and double the speed of each of these clips. Okay, that's going to look much better. Right, so there's a bit of a freaky transition here. So let's just zoom in a little bit onto this transition. Yeah, it's almost like the pouring kind of pauses for half a second there, which I don't love. So I'm just gonna see if I can delete that little last bit there and see if it makes it any better. Yeah, it's not bad. Alright, so I'm actually going to speed these up a little bit more. Let's put that one up a tiny bit more, about 4.5, and then I'm going to make these all maybe 2.5-ish, something like that. That's a little bit too much. Yeah. Cool. So that would be a 16-second video, which is about right. I'm just going to check the other transitions. That one looks good. That one looks good. Although the speed of the guys definitely slows down, so I'm just going to speed this one up a little bit more until they look about the same. Yeah, we want that a little bit quicker again. And again. So there's a little bit of trial and error to this, but that's alright. Yeah, that looks okay. They're coming in alright. And again, they slow down a little bit in this last clip, so I'm just going to make that a little bit quicker. Yeah, it's good. And then I'm going to speed up this last clip as well, because it's just a pan. I'm also going to cut it off a little bit sooner, just because there's a bit of a pause there, which I'm not a fan of. Alright, so I'm just going to cut that out. Yeah, that looks much better. Great, so we've put them all in together and I'm happy with the speed. Let's go check out what is next. So we've very much hit the nail on the head with these. We've stitched together the video clips and we've sped up the clips to create that dopamine hit. The next step is sensory hooks. So this is about adding some music. All of these viral videos have some fun, exciting music. And then if we want, we can add some ASMR or other audio sounds just to make it feel a little bit more real. So I personally like to generate my own music for these kinds of clips, just because then I know absolutely sure that it's mine and there's going to be no copyright issues, and I can get that music exactly how I want it. And then sound effects we can grab from places like CapCut, or you can find other sound clips on the internet, which you can definitely add into your videos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head back into Gemini, ask it to come up with a couple of prompts for some music that might sound good. I'll head over to Suno. I like Suno as my music generator, create some music, and then chuck it in CapCut and see how it sounds. Alright, so the prompt I've gone for here is, I want some music to go with my final clip. Can you come up with a couple of prompts for clips which would do well? I want them to be upbeat and funky. So nothing too complicated. We'll let Gemini come up and use its creativity to suggest some prompts. I'll chuck them into Suno and I will pull out the one that I like the most. Cool, so here we are in Suno. I have just chucked these prompts into the styles here. Suno is really cheap. There are other alternatives out there, or you can just grab some stock music to go along with your video. So let's have a listen to a few of these. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, so both those seem like suitable ones. Let's have a quick listen to these other ones. Yeah, that's not a bad one. Not loving that one as much. A little bit slow. Yeah, so what we've got to remember is we've only got 15 seconds, so we want that beat sort of kick in quite quickly, which is why these early ones seem like good options. Cool, so let's just grab this first one. That will do us fine. We download it as an MP3. Sweet, so we're back in CapCut. I've just imported that botanical music that we just downloaded, so I'm just going to drag it in. Quite like the idea of using this clip partway through so that it is exciting straight from the off and we're not waiting for the beat to drop or anything like that. We really want to grab users' attention right from the off, so we want that music to be upbeat. Cool, so it sounds pretty good from here. Pretty upbeat, so I'm just going to split the track there and use this part of the clip, and then I'm going to cut it off at the end of the video there. So let's just give it a quick listen. Okay, so that's pretty good. I'm just going to add a bit of a taper fade out of the music there so that it's not so abrupt. Yep, that's pretty good. Okay, so the final thing for us to do is to add some sound effects if we like. This is not essential. I think the video is in a really good state, but we can just add a few if you like. So just to show you what that might look like, we'll have a quick flick through. So maybe for this first bit, we could look for a rustling sound. So in CapCut, the way you can do this is head over to audio and then sound effects and type in rustling. So this one here doesn't sound too bad, so I'm going to add it in and just align it with our clip. Okay, so we've lined that up. So we've lined that up to the right spot and just increase the volume a little. Let's see how that sounds. That's not too bad. So we might want some liquid pouring sound here, so let's see if we can find something for that. Okay, this one's not too bad, we'll chuck it in. So we'll just bring the sound down a little bit. Cool, and then we could maybe add a sound for the cleaner. Okay, we found that this vacuum cleaner noise is actually quite suitable for the polisher noise, so it starts around there. I'm just going to align that with the noise, so we'll go there, and then we finish off around here, so I'm just going to cut that there, turn it down, and then also fade that out over a second or so, and we'll just see how that sounds. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. All right, let's listen to the final product all the way through. And there we have it. So that is the final product. Pretty happy with that as an output. I think that is very much in the sort of caliber of the videos that we see and go viral. So let's have a quick flash back to where we're at. Great, so we've just finished adding some funky music and some ASMR sort of sounds to make it feel real and to really hook the users. The music is an absolute must. You definitely can't get away with not having music, but the sensory sounds are definitely nice to have. But hopefully you can see that they do add depth. So the final step, which I'm not going to go into in this video, is how we can automate this process. What we can actually do is we can create these videos completely on autopilot. We have the capability to use automation and AI to make these videos while you sleep. Now, that's not to say that there wouldn't still need to be some kind of human oversight to make sure that they are of a decent enough quality. If manually creating content is a challenge that you're coming up against and it's really difficult for you to stay on top of creating really good quality content like this, then I encourage you to head over to my school community with my business partner Mark. We teach you everything you need to know about the opportunity that sits in front of us, how you can leverage technology to create this kind of content completely on autopilot. How awesome would it be if you could just wake up to 10 of these videos ready to go out on your social media? If that's the kind of thing that interests you, then do head over to school.com/AI lab and I'll see you there. If you've made it this far in the video, thanks very much for sticking with me and I'll see you in the next one.